Hi, how's everyone doing? Today I was going to talk about how to orchestrate dense harmony, rich harmony, chords with a lot of notes. So I wanted to show two different approaches. One approach is very maximalist and being very detailed and sort of carving out a little bit of the low end out of the sound and making it more mid-range and high-end range, make it a little more intense. And the other way is to just do a very basic SATB top to bottom, where it just sounds just really rough and coarse and thick. So I thought I would get started. So these staves here, this is typically what we might receive from a composer. I'm just calling this strings in MIDI. So this is just sort of a grand staff. A lot of times composers will just compose with ensemble patches. Not all, but some. And so our job as an orchestrator is to decide which notes are important and stay, and usually it's all of them. And how do we split this out? And that's sort of, as an orchestrator, what we do. So I want to offer up some suggestions and some tips of how to get the most out of something like this. So what we have to look here is, what is the harmony suggesting? By the intervals, by the number of notes, and by the articulation, and by the dynamic. So the dynamic is fortissimo. So this tells us that it's loud. And these three slashes are tremolo slashes. So this tells us it's an unmeasured tremolo where they bow back and forth as fast as possible. So we've got this just blurred sound. So for anyone who's curious what the actual voicing is, it would be this. Of course it's not. So it's got a an urgent kind of sound, and so it should be orchestrated urgently. So the first thing that we do when we're deciding who to play things is typically I try and have whatever the top note is of the voicing, I try and have the most people on there. The top note or the top few notes, because I really want that to be heard more than anything. So what I chose to do here is to divide the first violins in three. And that takes care of the top three notes, the A, the D, and the B. And this is for large string ensemble, 14 firsts, 14 seconds, 12 violi, 10 violoncelli, 8 contrabassi. So a lot of times, no, we're not getting this many strings to work with, but I thought I would just show a larger orchestra. So anyways, this is just dividing in three, and it's the string specificity means that 6 players are on the top note, 4 are on the middle note, and 4 are on the bottom. So you can see there's more people on the top note. Okay, fine. That takes care of the top of the chord. Let's talk about the middle. So what I chose to do here is to find very comfortable double stops within the second violins. Why double stops? You get 2 notes for the price of 1. And because it's fortissimo and it's urgent and tremolo, I'm not interested in getting a single note and a clean sound. I want as much sound as I can possibly get. So if you see here, there's an F sharp and a D. So if you zoom in, I extracted a 6th from the F sharp to the D. And if anyone's curious, why we choose 6ths, it's not the only interval that we choose, but it's very easy to play on a stringed instrument. I just happen to have a mandolin here. So that's what these notes are. So forgive my hands, I painted my nails and ruined them. So what could be simpler than holding a violin and just doing this? So all three of these are orchestrated out with double stops. I chose to do more people in the middle just because the top had already been taken care of itself. Okay. And then we've got the violi. This double stop down here, they're utilizing the open C string, which is the same C inside the staff here, and another comfortable double stop. So they're all tremolo, and that's fine. So let's talk about what I didn't do. I did not put all of this heavy harmony into the cello, which I could have easily done. The reason I didn't do that is because for this particular passage, I just wanted it to be a little bit more, treble and mid-range focused. And dividing the cello and having the basses in there, it's going to be really rich and, elephants kind of rumbling. And that's not the sound I wanted. So a tip I would, offer up and suggest is if you want to get harmony that's in the treble clef, more inside towards the top, it's a great place to use artificial harmonics in the cello. And I've explained before, but these harmonics, this note that's written, it sounds up 2 octaves. So this F that's written here is sounding that F there. So I've gotten most of the important pitches from the violins into the cello. The last thing I did was, a lot of orchestrators would just go, okay, this is out of the range for the basses, so they don't do anything. And I try and find things for them to do, so they don't just sit around and feel jealous that people are playing, even though there's nothing wrong with people being tacit. So what did we do? They are playing a natural harmonic on their G string at the halfway node. So that fits into the harmony. And this last harmonic they're doing is a rare harmonic, and I'd really invite you to talk to double bass players and ask them about C string harmonics. Because there's a whole harmonic series and we don't really write for them often. And I did talk to a couple of bass players, and what they told me is on the C string, in first position, that there's about 3 of them that speak pretty well. And, because of the looseness of the string, these particular ones speak well. So what this one is I've written this out as Sul 4 C extension. So their low string is an E. So this tells them that it is on their 4th string, and to use the C extension and to touch F natural. And this sounds as a C, which is the same as this C here, which is the same C as the violi's open C on their low string. So the last thing that I did, by the way, I did not do tremolos in the basses. I could have, I just chose not to do it. The last thing I want to point out is the notation here. So if you take a look, move my big head out of the way. If you take a look here, this goes all the way through the bar. And this is typical in MIDI. What we did here was we show that we're stopping right on beat 4. The reason for this is it gives the conductor a clear off and the players a clear off. I just find it's cleaner for recording purposes. So to me, this is very maximalist, nuanced orchestration. And I feel like as an orchestrator, not all of these things, but a lot of these things you should be thinking about. You should be making lots of, decisions and thinking about lots of different scenarios in your mind of all of the different possibilities. That's what your job is. That's why we do this, because we love to think about every possibility. And sometimes there's usually only two that are good. And the more you do this, the more instinct you'll have to where the possibilities and the exhaustion of indecision get smaller. So instead of going, there's 10 things I can think of, you might just think of 3, and the first one you think of is the best. So don't feel overwhelmed if in the beginning you're thinking of too many things and you just don't know, what to do. So this would be, a very specific way of orchestrating, which I personally do. Now, I'm going to show you what most people would do. And there's times that this is exactly what the music needs. So this is a much, much simpler orchestration here. And literally all I did was just SATB it from the top to the bottom. And what this is going to do is it's just going to give it a thicker, richer, dense sound. And there are times that might be the right move. That might be the right move if this is all that you hear. But if there's other things going on upstairs with the brass, with the woodwinds, whatever may be happening, a synth that needs to come through in the MIDI mock-up, then I would suggest sort of thinning out the bottom, because as an orchestrator, you're making music playable for musicians, but especially in film and video game orchestration, you're orchestrating for the microphone, and you're thinking like a recording engineer and saying, I know that I need to clear out bottom end for the microphone, for the mixing engineer, for the music. And so you need to know, how do you get the bottom end out? And so one way is getting rid of the cello and the violi. And what you need to know about this is basically the thicker the string, the thicker the sound, or the bigger the string, the bigger the sound. So we're omitting big strings. And that's why harmonics work so well here, because harmonics are a very anguished sound to me. They sound anguished, they can sound ethereal, they can sound breathy and angelic depending on the harmony. But with this kind of harmony, it's very, to me, very anguished sound. So, I hope you guys learned something from this and how I approach, as I like to say, making a meal out of stuff and thinking very nuanced and as a maximalist. If anyone has any questions, definitely let me know. And I hope you guys are doing really well. Okay, bye.